What's up, YouTube? This is Tyler again with another PSA Mailday. So you can see I've got a lot of cards to get through here, and similarly to one of my other videos, again I filmed this incorrectly, vertically instead of horizontally, and I was also again in a rush, so I had to make this video and then do a voiceover. So jumping into it really quickly, as you can see I have a ton of Jordan Alvarez Bowman's Best Rookies. Really did pretty good with these. These were, again, already sold through Probstein, so overall I think I did pretty poorly in terms of resale value. I sold these roughly in the October-November time frame, and baseball is incredibly dead during that time. But again, kind of like to turn things over. I don't like to hang on to cards, so as soon as I get these orders back, I just send them off into the mail. So Patrick Mahomes, some of these cards, again, I did pretty well with. Starting to notice that a lot of the optic cards, especially parallels, are really starting to dry up in terms of being in good condition. A lot of the ones that you see online, they're either going to be really overpriced or they're going to have flaws. And the flaws that I'm starting to see, especially with some of the orders that I've gotten since creating this video, even with the base cards, there's a lot of issues with corners and a lot of issues with edges, whether it be folks who are mishandling the cards or they came out of the pack damaged. But I'm noticing a lot of the raw cards that I'm seeing, they're being passed off by sellers who are simply passing those off. So you can see my cat sitting there just looking at the sink like nobody's business. So he is a good companion, I will say that. Very good companion. Mookie Betts, got two of those Topps Chrome updates graded Gem Mint, and again, those things are incredibly undervalued. Kawhi Leonard, Panini autograph, PSA 10. That one actually did really well. Getting a PSA 10 auto from Kawhi is pretty top notch. Giannis, got a couple of these select cards, and overall I would say I did below average on them. These should be easy grades, but I did buy a bunch of these from one seller overseas, and I think a lot of them had some edge wear, which was a little bit concerning. Similar to my November Mailday order, which I actually recorded before my October Mailday order. This order is a perfect example of cards where the big cards just did not hit. Both of those Giannis select parallel cards, I was expecting one of those to hit. They both, I thought, had a 50-50 shot at being Gem Mint. Granted, the red back came back Gem. That one did look perfect. But those select cards just did not go in my favor whatsoever. Now, the Baker 9, knew that one was probably going to come back poorly just because of edge corner wear. But Knights Templar, I had really good success grading those things early on, but not much anymore. Elite Series, not so much. Select, again, not so much. Now, I did do well with these Mahomes. So I had two of these field view or field level silvers. Now, I wish that these were just as rare as the basketball version. So the Luka Doncic courtside silver that I graded that came back a PSA 10, it's been calculated that there are roughly 30 of those in existence. So I sold mine at the worst time. Actually, I sold it at a good time because I made a lot on it. But if I had that card now, I would have probably been able to sell it for, gosh, I don't even want to speculate, but a lot more than what I did. But the Mahomes cards are not as rare, but I did sell them, and they did pretty good. Cat needs a little bit of lovin's mid-video. He's just coming over there, just making a mess. Like, look at all the cups he has. Cat just making a mess, man. But, all right, back to the video. So, Christian Yelich, again, sorry if you guys get really sick of these, but the Luka Doncic, man, I wish I had that card back, and that should not have been an 8. So that card was graded a near mint to mint 8. That card absolutely should have been 9, or it should have been a 10. I think that was incredibly undergraded. Did pretty well with my Seth Beers, but for some reason the prospectors out there don't like Seth Beer. They just see him as this chunky guy who's going to be relegated to probably first base or DH or whatever. So I think his bat's going to carry him and do pretty well, but the rest of the prospecting crew is just not feeling it. My penny stock with Vince Fernandez just didn't pay off. So got some good grades, did pretty well, but overall did very poorly. Seth Beer. So one of the reasons why maybe I didn't do so hot on this order is because those Seth Beers, whenever they came out, I was expecting, and again, this is kind of why I'm deviating away from prospecting, because it's really hit or it's really miss, one or the other. I was expecting those Seth Beers to sell very well because that was his first chrome autograph. So I paid roughly $170 to $180 a piece for them. Those now are in the 40 to 50 range. Graded gem mint, maybe a little bit more. So I took an absolute beating on Seth Beer cards, and that's one of the things, man. A lot of people, I would say one of the big hobby trends in this past year and maybe over the past couple of years is people are moving away from prospects. That's not to say that they're commanding value, but people see the volatility in it so much. They're going with the true, tried and true type of players, whether it be Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna Jr., even in the NBA. I mean, guys like Luka Doncic, Trae Young. I mean, if you're putting up numbers, your stuff is going to be commanding a premium. So with Trae Young, I did pretty well with this order. This was right around whenever he started bursting on the scene, starting to average around 30 points a game, 28, 29, 30 points a game. Again, these LeBrons, I bought these from the same guy overseas, and they looked beautiful to me. I have no idea why I got a 9 on both of them. So, and I have a couple of theories on this. Maybe the grading standards are getting a little bit more strict. Now, I will say this Kawhi Leonard was a surprise to me. So I actually stashed this away in the personal collection because I've graded 2 or 3 of those, and they've all come back gem mint. I've sold the others. This one I'm hanging on to because I feel bad every time I sell it. But back to my theory about grading. I think that the Slabgate is putting extra scrutiny on grading. I actually crunched some numbers recently, and my overall gem percentage, granted I'm a little bit looser with what I send over the past couple of years, my grading percentage by year has gone from the upper 70s to the low 70s to the upper 60s over the past 3 years. And again, this LeBron, man, I thought this was a very, very clean card. Me getting this card, this is a $300 card as a 9. It's about a $600, $700, maybe $800 card as gem mint. Again, these orders could have been so much bigger had some of these bigger cards hit. But that's sort of the game that you play whenever you grade. And overall, I would say I've done pretty well. As I wrap up 2019, my ROI was much better than it was in 2018. Not nearly as good as 2017. 2017, people were still really starting to grade and grading predominantly with Beckett. As we went into 2018 and Beckett had their backlog, and as it became much more obvious, as I was spouting off on the boards, and hopefully, others eventually caught on to the fact that PSA 10s outsell Beckett. Now, it doesn't mean that they're superior. It doesn't mean that they're any better necessarily, and I can do a video on the comparisons of Beckett and PSA, especially over time, but the hard facts are there where if you go look up the equivalent graded card between a Beckett 9.5, which is a gem mint card, and a PSA 10, it is no denying that a PSA 10 outsells a 9.5 almost 100% of the time. It's getting to the point now in December of 2019, which is the time that I'm doing this voiceover, sadly, that is that's the standard. PSA 10 outsells 9.5s, and it's not even close. It's not close. But that's enough on the hobby trend. So back to the video with all the cards. These Christian Yelich, I did very, very, very well with Christian Yelich. Those emeralds did pretty good with. Now, I don't know if I got all 4 of those from the same seller. Actually, I think I might have. I think I might have got all 4 from the same, or 2 or 3 from the same seller. Topps Chrome, those are very, very difficult, very hard to find centered. Kind of disappointed that Topps Chrome card came back a 9, but this one came back a 10, which is pretty solid. And this is a biggie right here. Blue Refractor Auto on card, PSA 10. Don't know the pop value on this, but it's a sharp card. That's one that I haven't sold yet, so I put that one back in the stash just because if if Yelich keeps going, that card is going to be very, very big. The hollow, so this hollow Mahomes, I've graded a ton of these. That one I'm giving a thumbs up on because I'm putting that one away in the stash. Now this is a big card. I'm a big fan of Optic. I think Optic looks so much more attractive than Prism. Panini Prism is one of the most overrated sets, in my opinion. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to buy it and flip it because that's what everybody wants. But in terms of overall collectability and I think projections out into the future, we are seeing the trend happen right in front of us as Prism becomes so overproduced. And I've graded a ton of those Optic hollows, and because they're drying up and drying up fast, that's probably the last one that I'm ever going to be able to find that is in gradable condition. So I graded it, came back gem, and I'm keeping it in the stash. Again, Mike Trout, Bowman's Best cards, those are my mainstays for grading. Didn't do the best on those, but I'm going to keep looking for them. And overall, for the most part, they do pretty well overall. Ronald Acuna Jr., that one was pretty sharp. Did have a couple more Giannis selects, so I broke those out just based on the seller that I had, and these did a little bit better.
Sticky notes.
At least I think. I don't know if this is the one where, okay, 2 out of 3 came gem mint. Disappointed on this Giannis FX that came back a 9. Those are usually pretty easy grades. Now these Bellingers did come back gem mint, but they're the wrong ones because those purples are low end. They're not the refractors numbered to 568 or 567, whatever that they're numbered to. The minor leagues, those did well, but again, timing on that was poor. Whenever I bought those, these minor leagues were selling maybe double what they were whenever I got these back. And man, these green cards, whether it be Joey Bart or Seth Beer, I paid roughly like between $260, $270 for those. And I got killed by all of them. I was expecting that the megas were going to be much more mega valuable given that they are actually on card. But luckily, stuff like this Kawhi Leonard sort of bailed me out because, again, rookie autos from Kawhi that grade 10 do very, very well. Kind of surprised by this Juan Soto 6. I can't remember whenever I actually looked at this up close, like what the exact issue was or if I actually found anything wrong with it. But man, that's a beautiful looking 6. Not quite sure what it was. There might have been something that I was focused in on right there. But even if it's a surface wrinkle should be automatic 4s regardless of how the card looks. But it is what it is. This Max Scherzer was a massive, massive card that really, really saved me. Got to sell that right around playoff time and World Series time. And again, Mookie Betts Tops updates. Those are sort of always going to be a big card that is going to do well as long as you get it as a 10 because you can buy those pretty much all day between $20 and $30, maybe a little bit cheaper now it's the off season, and sell those $60, $70, $80. In the season, if he's hot, maybe above 100. So pretty easy grade and pretty easy flip. Trey Young's did well for the most part on the gems, broke even on the 9s. On these Kawhis, so did pretty well on the Kawhis. I believe this is the order where they mislabeled a couple of these cards because as you can see, I'm looking at the base cards right now, but the Starburst version, you can even see that that's a Starburst right there, but it's not labeled as a Starburst, and that's really disappointing. So as I break these out, I've actually emailed PSA about this, and I've got one email back from them like 2 weeks, and I responded, and they still haven't responded. Like I need to send these back, yet they're like ignoring my emails. It's very, very frustrating, but now I have to send these cards back because these Starburst cards, they need to be labeled as a Starburst. Like this is a big boo-boo by PSA, and I know they have that review process, but like ultimately I don't have the cards in front of me, so I can't like review what it is that I sent. I just have them on a spreadsheet. I don't really have the time to go through a spreadsheet, so like if I email you, email me back. Like it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it kind of was. Got a Kawhi Leonard Panini Prism PSA 10. This is one of the ones where I ended up keeping. So I kept one of those 10s and I sold the rest. Big believer in Kawhi long term. First year of Panini Prism. He, in my opinion, is the best player in the NBA. Yes, I believe he is better than Giannis. He is much more skilled. Yes, he is better than LeBron. He is much more skilled. I can do a breakdown. I can talk all day long about why Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the NBA. Now, whether he's going to be the best player over Luka in 2 to 3 years, that's a little bit more up for debate. But whenever it comes playoff time, Kawhi Leonard, I'm sold. I'm not going to sell any more of his stuff. I'm going to start stashing some of his stuff away just because I'm a true believer in Kawhi. Rounding out this order, so overall this was a pretty solid order. Did pretty well whenever I sold these. The big cards did not hit, so hopefully as we move into the new year, maybe I can make some adjustments, maybe make a little bit more smarter purchases. But overall this is a pretty solid order. Again, everything's pretty much sold other than the things I've collected, but much appreciated, and thanks for checking it out. Have another video up shortly.